Chapter 24. Blocked Fallopian Tubes. "I don't understand," said Thomas. "He came at me with a cricket bat." "Yes, but he didn't assault you with it," Toby said. "That's the point. We have it on CCTV. He opened the door, which you then walked into." I don't believe you." "Well, it's true. We can show you the footage later, when your eyes have stopped bleeding. More importantly, the reason you needed such extensive suturing is because you appear to have suffered exactly the same injury within the past week. Is that right?" The past week?" "Yes. According to the doctor, you appear to have smashed your face in exactly the same place twice in a row. Have you walked into a door recently, Thomas?" "No. Well, there was a door I walked into, yes, but..." Both officers jotted this down, before underlining and circling their respective versions. "So what? You're saying this is all my fault?" "According to the man with the bat, you'd been ringing his bell for about 20 minutes at 2:30 in the morning." "Rubbish!" "Which 13 other residents can confirm." Thomas fell silent. "So the thing is," Rosenthorn said, "that you ought to think yourself lucky." Thomas tried a laugh, but nothing happened. "Because you could be done for being a public nuisance." To this, he did laugh. A public nuisance? That's rich. I have an entire industry taking me to court for the very same reason." Rosenthorn glanced at her colleague. "Yes," she said, "I'm aware of that, which is why I've persuaded the residents to accept that your facial injury is perhaps punishment enough." Thomas stared at her. "Are you seriously saying that after all this I'm the one who's in the wrong?" "Thomas, we have CCTV footage of you harassing the residents of an apartment building for nearly half an hour. You could be done for drunk and disorderly too." "But I wasn't drunk." "You'd clearly been drinking." "I had one small, very expensive and very French glass of wine earlier." "Look, it doesn't matter. What does matter is that repeatedly walking into doors has made things more complicated." "Oh, brilliant. And tell me, Constable Rosenthorn, just how much worse can it get? Am I in danger of being assassinated by the publishing's commercial collective, perhaps? Am I in danger of alienating the one woman who's taken it upon herself to help me out of this quagmire of filth that my life has become? Or has my vocation to be a writer suddenly been made illegal while I was busy having my face sutured?" "It's probably best if we let the doctor tell you." "Tell me? Tell me what? That I have a brain tumour or something? Because I'll tell you one thing, I wouldn't mind that. In fact, I'd be thrilled if it's fatal, because this entire mess might be sorted out before my final court hearing." The nurse returned with another woman, and although the nurse smiled at him, the other woman didn't. Instead, she glared with a sort of clinical disgust. She carried a newspaper, and when she spoke, her tone was about as sterile as her fallopian tubes. "Mr. Caulfield, I'm Dr. Penelope." Look, it's doctor, actually, and "What exactly are you a doctor of?" asked Toby. "I'm a stenologist," said Thomas. "A what?" "A stenologist." "Well, what's that then?" "Oh, look, it doesn't matter. Have I got a brain tumour?" Penelope frowned. "A what?" "A brain tumour," said Thomas. "Have I got one? And if not, can I get one while I'm here? I wouldn't mind two, if that's possible, in case one gets better." "A brain tumour?" "Yes. How long have I got? I don't mind if it's quick. I'd be grateful, really. The sooner I can get this mess of life over with, the sooner I don't have to think about it anymore." "Who said you had a brain tumour?" "No one. I'm just hoping." "You don't have a brain tumour." "Oh, that's disappointing. But you do have something else. This isn't about my scrotal rash, is it? Because I've had that for ages, and frankly, I don't want to get rid of it. It keeps me company. It's a bit like having a cat, but without the expense." There was an awkward silence. "Actually, I wasn't aware of your rash," Penelope said. "Oh, but thanks for informing us." She picked up the clipboard and jotted this down. "Yes, well, if it's not about the rash, then what is it?" "It appears you have a tendency to walk into doors, but only on occasion, and fall down stairs. Once. You've also been known to throw coffee on floors. Again, once. And throw sandwiches around. Just being friendly." Penelope handed him a newspaper. "You probably haven't seen this morning's Guardian, but I think you ought to. as it rather succinctly illustrates my point. You have a point? Thomas asked, taking it. The headline was large, unmistakable, and surprisingly unsurprising. Crap writer knees editor in bollocks. Oh, shit, he whispered. Yes, agreed Toby. Again, count yourself lucky, because they're not pressing charges either. They're not? No. They're concerned that if they do, it might interfere with your pending court case and detract from your... He flicked back through his notepad and read, whopping public humiliation. Thomas stared at him. It's not complicated, Toby said, putting it away. It seems they're hoping you'll suffer far more with that than if they press charges for this. Ah, charming. Yes, they're going to film it in court, apparently, your humiliation, and then release it to small independent cinemas. Why the hell would you need the editors of The Guardian in the bollocks anyway? Are you trying to get crucified? It wasn't like that. And what grown man needs another man in the bollocks anyway? That's answered in the article, said Penelope. But we're getting off track. My point is that your behaviour is very odd, Mr. Caulfield. So odd, in fact, that the National Board of Health is forced to take these accusations of psychoenteritis seriously. You can't be serious. I am, hence my use of the word. We don't know much about psychoenteritis, other than it being a brand new disease. You make it sound like a Christmas present, which, according to statistics, affects about 1 person in 7 billion. But more worrying, of course, is the suggestion that it's contagious. Thomas took a deep breath. It is not contagious, he said calmly, because it doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, then how do you explain your bizarre behaviour? Probably because my life's going about as well as the rush hour in your fallopian tubes. Penelope glared at him, before jotting something down on the clipboard also, which she then underlined, drew a circle around, and highlighted with little stars. Psychoenteritis is something we need to take very seriously, she said. You will see one of our consultant psychiatrists shortly, who will prepare a detailed report, after which a decision will be made. A decision? Yes. What sort of decision? An important one. About what? About certificates, primarily. Certificates? Yes. A pause and then, you're going to certify me? Only if certain tests come back positive. What sort of tests? One's for psychoenteritis. I thought you didn't know anything about psychoenteritis. We don't. So how the hell can you test for it? By having a psychiatrist look at you and come up with one. But I already see a psychiatrist. Her name's Dr. Marjorie. I was going to make an appointment to see her next week. She doesn't think I'm mad. She's already diagnosed me as some sort of wanker. When the doctor ignored him and turned to leave, the officers did the same. Tell her, Toby, Thomas pleaded. Tell her that I already see Dr. Marjorie. You lot organised it in the first place. It wasn't us, Thomas. It was the judicial system. Then get the judicial system to tell her. You know what? Said Toby, rounding on him. I've had enough of this. I've done my bit. As far as I can see, all you do is make things worse for yourself. Every time I have anything to do with you, it's because you've pissed someone off. If I were you, I'd be grateful. Psychoenteritis might give you an excuse for being such an utter wanker, which is more than most of us have. He put on his hat. The best thing you can do is stop blaming others for your own shit. But I don't blame others, cried Thomas. I know this mess is all my fault. It always has been. It's my books. I'm just trying to survive in this quagmire of my own making. But Toby wasn't interested and turned to leave. Rosenthorn smiled an apology and followed. Aghast, Thomas stared after them. The nurse remained, however, holding a bedpan. I don't believe this, Thomas said, staring at his bedclothes. All I wanted to do was apologise to someone, and I end up being accused of being certifiable. He punched his bedclothes. And contagious! How is that a problem anyway? No one ever comes near me. It probably sounds worse than it is, the nurse said. He looked up. Do you think so? Actually, no. It sounds pretty dreadful. Thomas stared at his bedclothes again. I don't want to speak to another psychiatrist. I like Dr. Marjorie. She understands me. Really? Are you certain? Yes. She keeps going on about how much of a wanker I am. I've signed a form and everything. Thomas, I can assure you that the consultants here are excellent, and if you're not ill, then you have nothing to worry about. And if I am? She shrugged. Well, then it's just as well that you're in a hospital. He looked at her with plead. You couldn't help me get out of here, could you? What? You know, help me escape before they come for me. If you took your clothes off, I could disguise myself as a nurse and leave by the back door. There's a back door, isn't there? Or a kitchen I could flee through? You could draw me a map on the back of that bedpan. I can't do that, Thomas, no. You really ought to take the doctor's advice. I'm sure it's for your own good. No, I want to get out of here. I want to go home. The nurse sat on the side of his bed. She put her hand upon his forehead and smiled kindly. And then what will you do once you're home? She asked. Thomas stared at her, transfixed. Probably open a tube of toothpaste, he said. What? Sorry, I meant a window. And then what? Hold my breath until the place is aired. And then? He wanted to shrug, but worried her hand might move. I don't know, probably turn the mattress over. Will you have something to eat? Yes. And what will you eat? Presumably whatever fell out of the mattress. Well, she said, there you are then. Compare that scenario with your morning here. You've had a nice breakfast, you're in a nice clean bed. I've watched someone be sick. You've watched someone be sick, yes, and your mattress is fine. I've got my own bedpan. You've got your own bedpan, exactly. So you see, being here is far nicer than going home. At least, for the moment. And what's more, if you stay here, I can look after you. Would you like that? Thomas nodded. Yes, I would. And actually, you're quite right. If I had a bedpan at home, I'd probably have used it and wouldn't need to air the place. She looked at him for a time. And for what it's worth, I don't think you're a wanker. Well, I am. Look.